This story is inspired by actual events. Names, locations, and a few details have been altered or omitted for storytelling and privacy purposes. This account is meant for your entertainment, education, and conversation starter only. So rest your bones for a minute. Let this wicked old witch and her dog tell you a story, and not for one skinny minute will I tell you that my opinions are facts. Viewer discretion is advised. If y'all can tell, I am recording out on my back deck today just because it's so nice this morning. It's too nice to be indoors. And here pretty soon, it's going to be too hot. Here in Central Texas, the heat comes early. So enjoy the bird sounds with me, and let me tell you what I found. There is a lot to unpack in this story, so I broke it up a bit, like into chapters. Let's start with a little bite of history of the site where all these devastating but accidental drownings are happening. Not too in-depth, just enough to get the flavor of the place. And I'll give you enough information where you can draw your own conclusions. It might seem a little bit wordy, but I believe it does all go to point. So, the history of the lake, Chapter 1. Now, I am a native Texan, and other than our serial killers, real estate shakedowns, and traffic right out of hell, there's a lot to love here. Banging nightlife, food truck culture, some of the nicest, weirdest people I know. Austin's motto, by the way, is keeping it weird. Now, the place where the accidental drownings are happening is called Lady Bird Lake. It's really just a wide spot in the Colorado River. It's not the same Colorado River that carved out the Grand Canyon. They are separate and distinct. Only thing they share is a name. This wide spot is originally named Town Lake, and I say Town Lake because that's what it was called most of my life. So I may use Town Lake and Lady Bird interchangeably. The official name was changed in 2011 to honor Lady Bird Johnson, a former First Lady, and they're from around here somewhere. But it is a little too late for this old dog to learn a new trick. No disrespect, Lady Bird, I'm just getting old. So it's not really a lake, it's a reservoir, and it was created by the construction of Longhorn Dam in the 60s to help tame down that part of our Colorado River. And it was having some pretty epic flooding downtown before the dam was built. But within a year of the dam's creation, there was a massive pesticide spill in Town Lake. It was a DDT leak. It's been linked to a former East Austin chemical company. This spill killed thousands of fish in Austin and up to 200 miles downstream. So I had to look this up. The half-life of DDT is up to 20 years, and a division of the CDC says it can take upwards of 67 years for DDT to decompose, so that's just out there for your information. So there is what I consider a very reasonable swimming ban that has stemmed from some heartbreaking events. It happened on Mother's Day. Yeah, I know, Mother's Day. In 1964. Only 4 years after that spill, they were allowing children to swim in that water. 2 young sisters waded into the water and got caught up in a current in a deep underwater pit. Their brother was 8 years old when he witnessed his sisters slip beneath the water, and that prompted the Austin City Council to do something, and the ban is in place to this day. The reason given for the ban remaining in place for all these years is the underwater landscape. There's remnants of old dams, deep pits from gravel mining, lots of debris, tree trunks, huge boulders, piles of trash, probably a couple of old cars. Not to mention, the water can have a very strong current, especially during water releases from the lower dam. It can make any water activity very dangerous. And some folks say that it's been in place because of the poor water quality. That's just what they say, and I don't argue. Here's what you can expect when one of those dam openings happens. A siren sounds, and that doesn't mean you have a few minutes to get off the water. That means the dam is open. There is no break in between the siren sounding and the dam opening. The two happen simultaneous. The water drops pretty quickly, and you're given a map. If you rent a kayak, canoe, paddleboard, you're given a map that shows you where the potential hazards are, including the dams, and very strict instructions not to go past certain landmarks. Well, you know that person. We all know that person. Tell them not to do something, what's the first thing they're going to do? Boaters are given instructions not to approach the dams, and it seems like these rental companies say that they have procedures in place to prevent incidents, but nowhere online could I find what those procedures are. Now, this next part I could read two ways. Longhorn Dam is located 1.2 miles away from the docking area, so you have 1.2 miles to get out of the water. Seems fair enough. Or is the current that strong and you only have a mile, 0.2 to get out of the water? Yeah, I'm feeling kind of sketchy around that. In the long, long ago, Town Lake was the location of Seahome Power Plant, green water treatment facility for the chemical purification of river water, and the Holly Street Power Plant. Since then, a lot of the infrastructure is moved from downtown, but I'd be in the wrong if I didn't mention the lake was used as a cooling pond for the Holly Street Power Plant that ran on natural gas and petroleum. This plant was functioning for about 47 years and ended in 2007 following a bunch of citizen complaints about the chemical spills, and those happened in 74, 91, and 92, with reports from the local population of constant seepage. Now, not to mention the elevated cancer rates. Add this to the noise pollution, and the plant was eventually demolished between 2011 2017. Now, I wonder if they had a hard time getting the demolition crew to come in there because they knew what it was. They're not going to touch it. But I'm getting a whole bunch of Love Canal vibes. The removal of these plants left us with something we call the green-eyed monster. Now, we don't have a Loch Ness, and we're not that cool, but it's a structural remnant of some concrete footings that were left sticking up out of the water, and somebody painted it green and put big googly eyes on it, so it looks like the head of a giant gator sticking up out of the water. Yeah, seriously, Austin, keeping it weird. In the 70s, the lake was the center of some controversy around some powerboat races that were being held right down the middle of Austin, and we called this the Aquafest celebration. And I don't know, but why, if they knew that there was all this junk in the water, why someone would take their $1 million boat out there? But it's their boat, and I really got nothing to say. The crowds that attended the races disrupted life along the waterfront for all the neighborhoods. There were no allowances made for extra parking, increased traffic. So eventually, everybody got tired of that, and Aquafest ended in 1998. The lake is regularly tested for a variety of chemicals, but primarily to assess the water quality and the presence of harmful algae blooms. The City of Austin, along with other agencies, test for things like phosphorus, which is fertilizer for these harmful algae. There's also a bunch of other tests done, but it's written out in geek speak in some really hard to find PDFs, but it don't look too bad on paper. While officials say that typically levels of bacteria remain acceptable, except for following a storm. What gets real high is the phosphorus. Well, algae eats the phosphorus and blooms into cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria has bloomed every year since 2019. And let me tell you what I know. 1 pound of phosphorus can support up to 500 pounds of algae or more. This algae has killed several dogs and sickened many more. Austin is using something called Phoslock. It's a specialized clay, and what it does is bonds with the phosphorus and sinks it. So, not gone, just sunk. However, even without a full-blown algae bloom, contact with this water can cause some health risk. It might be as mild as skin irritation, but inhaling the cyanobacteria or the other release toxins is especially significant during water activities because it can trigger something in your body that looks a whole lot like asthma. Prolonged exposure creates the potential for calcium deposits in your blood vessels and down the road has cardiac complications. There's liver trouble, neuro problems. I wasn't scared of this water till I did this research, and I have paddled that lake myself. Never again. Not going, not even considering it. Now, there are no current restrictions on consuming fish from the lake. Now, it said you should always check specific fishing advisories before eating fish caught there. Well, no fooling, right? Maybe I'll make a little arsenic sauce on the side and we can use the Grinch's recipe. So, the water seems okay for canoe, kayak, paddleboards, right? Austinites and tourists enjoy a lot of this out on the water. Well, I'm shaking my head at this point. I don't get that. Did y'all hear me roll my eyes? Do people ever get capsized off their little boaty things? Yeah. Well, if you decide to take a chance on the water and you do fall off, I'm going to ask y'all to make some very quick observations. Have you ever confused a harmless diamondback water snake with a cottonmouth water moccasin? Due to their size and dark coloring, you could be forgiven for making that misidentification. Water snakes typically have thin, dark, vertical lines on the side of their face near their mouth. Cottonmouths do not. Other than that, same. I'll give you that snakes hold a very important part in the ecology, excellent rodent control, and I can be totally content to leave them to it. So make good choices for yourself. Although the lake is beautiful to look at, your folks and I don't want you to die. So it's in my own opinion that this lake currently runs through the middle of the city like a big stinky butt crack. Those are my words. Taking in runoff water from polluted creeks, nasty sidewalks, pissy alleys. All the runoff from a city that's known to party. I say it's full of snapping turtles and snakes, and it stinks. I mean it. It literally stinks. I was down there recently just to give myself a new perspective. And I want to say, why on God's green earth would anyone want to paddle out into a lake that isn't safe to swim in? That sounds like a little too much faith in karma, but I'm going to stop bashing that lake and move on. Police have been called out there to some aquatic intrigue other than the unexplainable deaths. They got a call in the wee small hours one morning reporting a shooting at the Lady Bird boat ramp. Officers went out and discovered a submerged vehicle with a bullet hole. It took a team of divers and a big tow truck and a hefty chunk of time, like 10 hours or something to get that car out of the mud. The car was empty. Not a soul to be found, not a hint of a body anywhere. And it seems like maybe the lake had swallowed another victim, or perhaps the perpetrator, or whoever was in the car got out and let it sink. Nobody will know for sure. Shortly thereafter, they made another discovery. This time it was 2 cars. And both of them had been reported stolen, both in the water, both abandoned in the same area. It seemed like the lake was attracting stolen vehicles. It was a magnet for motoring misadventure. I'm wondering if there was a connection between these incidents, or if the lake has just become a convenient dumping ground. Cars, chemicals, victims, anything that needs to be parted with. So yeah, that's a lot. Here's a few recent statistics regarding some other swimming holes. And let's just take a look at one year, 2024. There were 2 bodies recovered from Lake Travis, and that's about 20 miles from Lady Bird. Then there's Barton Springs. That's about 15 minutes away, or little under 5 miles. I had to go back to 2012 to find 1 drowning. There was a boating incident resulting in a drowning in Inks Lake State Park. That's almost 70 miles away, but in Texas miles, it's just not that far. In that same time period, Lady Bird had 6. Now, officials say that that's because Lady Bird Lake is close to the bars and alcohol, but we know people drink at the lake. People act foolish at the lake. They show out for each other. They get cocky and overconfident. And yeah, alcohol can be involved anywhere. People are careless and overconfident. So my intention was to find out why Lady Bird has these numbers and the other lakes don't. Chapter 2. We're going to talk to some medical people. And I need to open this chapter by giving a big, warm hug and a heartfelt thank you to some individuals who shared their experiences and insights of what must have been the most terrifying night of their life, and one I'm sure that they just as soon be able to forget. So thank you. Seems a small thing to say, but just to know that you are appreciated. So let's move on to Rainey Street. An ER doctor from Dell Seton Medical Center gave an interview with KXAN, that's our local news and weather, and she has reported a surge in patients exhibiting very peculiar non-alcohol-induced symptoms. She said it's definitely been appreciated from bars and especially noticed from Rainey Street. Dr. Himali Patel explains that these patients experience a wide range of symptoms from sedation and drowsiness to agitation and psychosis. At times, she said, these patients even become combative. Dr. Patel said she's treated several of these cases herself, and her colleagues are also seeing an uptick in these trends. These cases are different, she says, because it's not due to alcohol consumption in and of itself. She oftentimes thinks it could potentially be overlooked because some substances are not always detected on a typical urine drug panel. And it could be because of the use of synthetic materials. And she says we may never be able to detect exactly what's causing the symptoms. When the patients are tested for drugs, the urine tests come back negative. And additionally, she says that these patients don't follow up with toxicology tests because what would they ask to be tested for? A full drug panel can be very expensive and could come to nothing, and these victims would have to prove that they didn't do this to themselves, and oftentimes it's just dropped at that. While in Austin for a bachelor party in June 2023, Jeff Jones, then 38 from Boston, vanished after a night out. He recalls having drinks, but woke up a week later in a hospital with some very severe injuries, fractured back, broken ribs, broken scapula. And he had been found semi-conscious under the 6th Street Bridge. Tests revealed that there were some benzodiazepine in his system. It suggested that he had been drugged. Mr. Jones considers him exceptionally lucky to be alive. A woman who's choosing to stay unidentified told me about an evening on Rainey Street. Following a visit to a couple of bars, she shared a ride home with friends and became overwhelmed by sudden, debilitating anxiety. She was then hit with uncontrollable fits of screaming, alternating with near-complete paralysis. Her friends called EMS and they took her directly to the Del Seaton Medical Center, and the police department officer met her down there. She wanted to make a statement and file a formal complaint, but guess what? You know what happened. The tox screen showed no sign of drugs. So, what you gonna do with that? Council member Zoe Caudry had an idea, and his office gave a statement to CBS Austin that states, our downtown entertainment district should be places where people feel they can go and safe relax, enjoy the music and our famous nightlife. But we know not everyone feels safe. So the pilot Sip Safely program creates a preventative approach and will help the city and APD understand the scale of drink spiking. Austin is the second city to initiate this type of program. The first was West Hollywood, California. Yeah, I think the scale of our investment shows our commitment to innovative approaches to keep our residents and visitors as safe as possible. The Sip Safely program has now been in effect since April 2024, so almost exactly a year. Preventative measures, of course, if they work. Participating bars have a stock of test strips that can detect date rape drugs. The businesses can also display signs letting patrons know that the strips are available. It's a great move in the right direction of keeping people safe. But here's the thing. Since we don't know what drug is being used, are we sure that the test strips would be accurate? Just saying, better but not perfect. Also, I have some calls out that haven't been returned to this point, and I will give y'all the update when they do. $100,000 was invested in this program, which purchased them around 30,000 kits. And I'm wondering if those kits are being replaced and replenished as they're used, or, it was, they made noise about having a program and then just let it die. I will give y'all the update as soon as I know. I did also find those test strips for sale on Amazon. The unfortunate truth is that we're going to have to wait and see if the program is working. Under no circumstances let your guard down. Don't go alone, and please be careful. The officials say that there's no foul play, but the community vibe is different. Ask friends and family about the habits of the victims, and they will tell you that the circumstances under which their family or friends have disappeared is very suspicious. As long as the public isn't buying the official narrative and there are no acceptable answers, we'll keep digging. And In the interest of fairness, I will try to give both sides of the story, but it's not popular belief, not even close. There's something going on at Lady Bird. Is it pollution, poison, a serial killer preying on lone victims near the water? Is there something under the water that didn't let the victims go? I know that's getting a little paranormal. So many questions, so many elusive answers. Either way, Lady Bird Lake is polluted and dangerous. I took a trip down Rainey Street. See what I do for y'all? And I did have a good look around. I walked the trail where some of the incidents are said to have happened. It's only 0.2 of a mile from the end of Rainey Street to the Holiday Inn Hotel at I-35, so it's a very short walk. I did notice when I was out there that lots of improvements have been made. There's more lighting. It's kind of a soft amber light. It's actually quite pretty. More of the split rail fencing has been put up. We'll see if those safety measures take away from the danger. I did also notice that path is very well traveled at night. A lot of men walking out there, bicyclists, joggers, lots of them have their own lights. And what I did find peculiar, and it was about 9 o'clock at night, was there was boaters and paddleboarders out on the water in the dark. I don't know if they've heard these stories or they're just trying to tempt their fate. I wish them all the best and hope that the new safety measures are working. Chapter 3. Let's meet the people. A lot of people in Austin are questioning a series of deaths in Lady Bird Lake. Are they connected? What do they have in common? Is there a serial killer? The online conversation swirls in every possible direction, trying to make connections between these deaths. Mostly men in a similar age range, like from 55 to 20, in the same area, happening at night, last been seen near Rainey Street. APD Assistant Chief Jeff Greenwald told KXAN, as of now, there's no strong connection in the deaths. There's a lot of allegations that there's a serial killer out there, but there's no proof or evidence in any of our investigations to sustain that. And I'm going to leave that right there. The first in this series is said to be Riyad Hamad in 2008. He's an Austin school teacher and peace activist. Riyad Hamad's death is still under investigation, although the police have ruled it a suicide. His family reported him missing on April 14th and his car was found the next day. A subsequent search located his body in Lady Bird Lake. Check this out. His hands were bound and there was duct tape over his eyes. I'm trying to picture how he did that. And it wasn't just a little bit, like one strip of duct tape. It was quite a bit of tape. However, the police cite evidence, including security footage and statements, indicating that he did have suicidal ideation, and that supports their preliminary conclusion. While the investigation, including autopsy and toxicology, is ongoing, they said what they said and they're sticking to it. So here's the thing. There was an FBI raid on his house 2 months before his disappearance. They took 40 boxes of paperwork. I have no idea what was in them boxes. 2 weeks later, he goes missing. After a trip to the pharmacy, he's never seen again alive. It's kind of hard not to read into that. Travis County's chief medical examiner, Dolanak's examination of Hamad sparked some outrage in the community. The body's condition upon arrival at the Islamic Center was deemed barbaric by Iman Dramali. Dramali is a veteran of 20 years in preparing bodies for burial. Severe damage, including open wounds, exposed flesh, shocked and literally sickened his colleagues. Later, Dramali demanded and received a meeting with Dolinak and APD chief at the time, Art Acevedo. Afterward, Dramali and Dolinak told the Chronicle separately that they believed the meeting was useful and should lead to a better medical examiner practices, but Dramali said he cannot accept the apology offered by Dolinak for any misunderstanding or mistake. His quote, "I believe they are sending us a message, and that's what I told my people at the mosque, that they believe they do not have to respect the bodies of Muslims." End quote. My question is, did the imam have experience dealing with bodies found in water? Because they a mess. Removing the tape off fragile skin could have caused some of that damage. I don't have those details, but I hope they made plans to better understand each other's jobs, and maybe a bit of compassion can go in both directions. From there we move on to 2012. Alino Valley, age 20, was missing for 7 days, found deceased and ruled as a suicide. This is disputed by the family. He seemed happy and easygoing. He was a student at St. Ed's and had his whole life ahead of him. Aaron Rublik, age 25, was last seen entering the Holiday Inn. His body was found near the lake. Now, I've heard a couple of different ways on this person, that he was dropped off by an Uber driver and never made it to the hotel, but there's just about equal amounts of reports either way. Julio Santos III was only 22. Yeah, he went missing on June 7th, and his body was found later that day. Christopher White was found deceased in the lake during ACL Festival. Toxicology did show that some drugs were present. Martin Gutierrez, last seen disoriented on Rainey Street. Christian Pugh, he was age 21, and he survived. God love him for it. Found near death in Lady Bird Lake in a month-long coma and has no recollection of that night. Christopher Gutierrez was found near South Pleasant Valley Road and Lakeshore Boulevard, ruled as an accidental drowning. Ricky Parks found near 9 East Avenue, no foul play. Jason John, age 30, found it near East Avenue, accidental drowning. Kyle Thornton, found near Congress Avenue Bridge, no foul play. Josu Moreno, now this one was a shooting. It was actually a murder, and someone has been found and being prosecuted for that. Clifton Axtell, found near 1100 Riverside, cause of death undetermined. Jonathan Honey, found near 10 Rainey Street, accidental drowning. Moga Dogal, found near West Cesar Chavez, not being investigated as a homicide. Christopher Hayes Clark, found near Canterbury, no foul play. And I watched an interview with his partner and the mother of his child, and I tell you, if that don't break your heart, you don't have one. And that brings us to 2024. Another body is found in Lady Bird Lake, where a lot of other people have been found. The latest body joins a growing mystery after at least 7 bodies are found throughout the year of 2024. On a Friday, police were called to investigate the reports of a dead person found near First Street. Yeah, they do not suspect foul play, as the body showed no signs of trauma, but they are investigating the incident. Again, Speculations of the serial killer float to the top. And again, APD says no proof. From this side of the keyboard, I can tell you that it's looking real suspicious. And again, police attribute everything to accidents and the proximity to nightclubs and bars. Are you tired of hearing that? Because the letters on my keyboard that say no foul play are getting worn out, and Apple doesn't have replacements. Just saying, I need to hear something else. "73-year-old Tai Lang Nguyen was found in the water, and her death was looked to be cardiac related. She was elderly and homeless and probably not related, but she was found in Lady Bird Lake. In September, a man who was behaving erratically near E. Cesar Chavez and Nueces went into the water and did not resurface. Later, he was pulled out and pronounced dead. Now let's say it together. No foul play. And again, the most recent body did not show any signs of foul play. Ugh. Seriously tired of hearing that. I mean, 1 is a tragedy, 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a pattern. How many more do we need? A fisherman spotted another person floating in the water. There was also a man suffering blunt force trauma to his head. Was found on the trail near Rainey Street. The man was pronounced dead a short time later. Yeah. Austin police reports 5 late-night Rainey Street trailhead drownings since 2014. And if y'all are kind of taking a peek at my video, that's the trail I was walking that night. My husband went with me. I have a big, badass, mean-looking dog, and he loves his mama, so I felt okay, but it was still kind of weird. A lot of improvements have been made, but the vibe is way off. It's a very dark feeling, and maybe it's because I know about the place. Maybe people that don't know this area's history wouldn't feel it, but I did. So, 2022, 4 deaths. 2023, 5 deaths. 2024, 5 deaths. So far, in March of 2025, there's been 1. And the APD issuing more statements. They're saying the same thing over and over and over. And I'm tired of typing it, tired of reporting it. Now, let me tell you what I know about the autopsies. In general, autopsy reports are public records and can be accessed by anyone who makes a request. However, there are some exceptions, such as when an investigation is ongoing or when the information is expressly confidential under laws. This could be like a minor person or something like that. Then their stuff would be protected unless you're next of kin. Or when Autopsy reports from the Travis County Medical Examiner's Office can take up to 120 days to be processed. I also need to mention that there are different kinds of autopsies. There is the full autopsy that y'all may be familiar with, the Y incision on the chest, the body is opened, and all the organs are examined, toxicology reports are run, different medical tests are done, and then there is a visual-only autopsy, which means the medical examiner will thoroughly look over the body, but no incisions are made to examine the internal organs. In some cases, the toxicology and other medical reports and testing is done, but the body is not opened. So we don't know what's going on with those internal organs. But you can't get these reports because these cases are officially open. Now, here's what they said. There are different kinds of closure in an investigation. There is administrative closure, which I believe is what happens in these cases. It's a temporary pause where the police and investigators will decide that there is better use of time and resources for them, and until there's another clue or some more evidence that will carry the case forward, it is called administratively closed. So reopening the case would be a lot easier if it was just backburnered rather than receiving final disposition, which means they've got a reason, they've got a suspect that has been able to be prosecuted. So none of these cases are completely closed. Dr. Alan Rampey is a Courtesy Associate Professor of Diagnostic Medicine at the UT Austin Dell Medical School. That's a mouthful. And he isn't working on any of these investigations, but he offered a third-party perspective on the timeline behind generating autopsy reports. Once you get the samples, you have to send them out to another lab for analysis. So there's a lot of stuff going on. If a body has been in the water for some period of time, and he doesn't state how long, but I don't imagine it takes long in that nasty water, it does essentially make the entire process a lot more challenging because the water does a lot of things to skin and other parts of the body. Here's why I hate Google AI Overview, and you always have to qualify your sources. The Easttown Lake citizens have called to action the police because they claim that 26 bodies have been found in Lady Bird Lake, and some say that's inaccurate. That number is way too high. But what's happening is they are also counting homeless people that have been found in and around the water. Obviously, if they're homeless, nobody's bothered with them. An autopsy's not done, and 2 of those bodies have not been identified. So no matter what the count is, your status in life could also reflect in your status in death. If you are homeless, you might not count. One Google article says, for example, 12 bodies have been recovered in the past 22 months. However, another number says between 20 and 30 over the past 5 years. Well, that number of 26 falls right in there in the middle. Oh boy. Yeah, so numbers are all over the place. We might not even have a specific and official count of how many people have been found. And still, they're saying no evidence of these cases being connected. So, the city of Austin was allocated $1 million to improve safety along Rainey Street trailhead and the surrounding area. Now, if you saw on the video, that's where I was walking, and that used to be totally pitch black. It's now softly lit, and I believe that it's done in a way that we can still enjoy the trail without it being lit up like 6th Street. But has the city gone far enough? Was this $1 million spent the way we wanted it spent? I don't know what streetlights cost, so I can only say that they have done a lot. The unfortunate truth is we're going to have to wait and see if more bodies show up before we can make the conclusion whether these safety measures have worked or not. The city says that they have installed some cameras down there to record activities. I didn't see any cameras, but I suppose that that's that goes to point you're not supposed to see the cameras. So I hope that they're down there. I hope that they're attached to something that actually records the video, because in so many cases, it's always said, the camera wasn't working. The camera didn't cover that area. So if there is a serial killer out there, let them know, because they're going to find out that there's cameras down there. Why did the city make that public? Okay, that's their business, but they had to tell the public something. A dishonest person will go down there and find out what areas are not covered by these cameras. And guess what? Like I said, y'all, please stay away from down there. We don't have any evidence yet that despite all of the safety measures that have been taken, we don't have any evidence that they're working. One of the other safety measures that they have included is called informative wayfinding. That's a big name for putting up more signs. And this is a good thing, because when it starts to get dark, or you feel like, you feel that presence that you don't have to see it to know somebody's close to you. Yeah, like they're in your personal space, or you feel like you're being followed. There are signs all over the place that tell you where the trails are, where the streets are, and it gives directions. So if you feel like you're being followed, someone's too close to you, just heads up, look for these signs, get back on the trail that gets you back up to the street. Or just don't go. I'm going with just don't go. I'm not going to fuss at y'all about that, because I went down there myself. I had company. I went before it was completely dark outside, and the husband made me stay in the car most of the time. He didn't get out either, because he is in that demographic of men that go missing. So all of that said, I'm going to give y'all a little recap. There's been chemical spills in the lake for years. The underwater landscape of the lake is not safe. There's big pits under the water. There's dangerous currents. There's no warning when the dam is open or to be opened. There's medical issues. The doctors couldn't even find the drug that was used on these people. And it's more commonplace than we think. A person could be drugged and survive and not become a statistic of a accidental drowning. These people are some that gave me their reports quietly and privately, because they don't want their name in the spotlight anymore. It was embarrassing. It was part of their medical history. And sometimes these folks say that it took weeks to months to feel normal again. And thank you, God, that these people survived. And has the city gone far enough? Is that a safe space now where you can go and enjoy the trails and go and have a little bite of some tacos and get you a margarita up Rainey Street? That place is like a big street party, like a party in your own neighborhood. It is a fun place to be. There's a lot of attractions down there that make it a real hot tourist spot. Do the tourists know? Or is the official report and the cover-up going to be such that tourists don't know about this? That they go down there with full intentions of having a good time, passing the night with friends and family. Maybe you want to go by yourself and just get away for a little bit, treat yourself to some dinner and have some cocktails. Don't do that. Just don't. So all that said, I want you to tell me what you think. And I will repeat that this is only one way to crunch the facts. Everything I found and put together for this article is available from public sources. You can make up your own mind, but please, y'all, keep yourself, your friends and family safe. That's me for this week. Sweet dreams. I'll see y'all next time.